Welcome, welcome, welcome. My name is Chris Campbell of Chris Campbell Consultancy, representative of South Wales Jamaica Society. I will be your host for today. Firstly, I would like to thank the Windrush Comrie elders, welcome Windrush family, dignitaries, honoured guests, here and across the nation, and on our multimedia. Welcome to this momentous occasion, a real momentous occasion in Wales history today. I have been instructed by our ancestral protocol to introduce our national and local homage giver. We have been giving ancestral prayers and homage for years on end. The great, the amazing, the inspirational, the heartwarming, the real African Jamaican Cliftoners. Please help us give us my hand.
Thank you very much, Chris. Thank you, my brother. Kuriso, Assalamu alaikum, Sat Sri Akal, Jambo, Namaste, Shalom, Yo, Wagwan. Greetings and welcome to Comrie Elders National Windrush Day celebrations. I mean, it's wonderful that you have chosen to be part of this event. Before I do the ancestral tribute, I'd just like to make a couple of important points. And I think it is vital for us never to forget the awesome contributions of our ancestors, our elders. They have done enormous work and have laid foundations, not only for our elevation and advancement as a people, but also to the forward flow of humanity. I mean, our people have demonstrated their capacity to do amazing and wondrous things. We've raised monuments, awesome monuments above the earth. Our contribution to science, astrology, anthropology, mathematics, music, arts, and culture in general, and many more. Some of these achievements are acknowledged and celebrated. However, perhaps our greatest legacy, which in my opinion is not acknowledged as much, is our ethical, moral values and beliefs, our collective values. Ubuntu, I am because you are, and because you are, therefore I am. Our principle of interconnectedness, interdependency, oneness, love for nature, love for humanity, the belief in the supreme being, respect for our elders, respect for ancestors, never forgetting those who have gone before us and have contributed. If we are to fulfill our ancestors' vision, which ultimately is to make the world a better place, a more just and equitable place, we need to do Sankofa. We need to return to those values. We need to be consciously living those values. Okay. That said, I will start by firstly giving thanks to the divine creator, known by many names, for bringing us safely together as one family. Secondly, and in accordance with cultural protocol, I pay tribute to our ancestors, to our elders, acknowledge our elders, our moral principles which we must practice so our next generation can see and imitate. I now request permission from our elders to continue. Today represents a unique period in our history when paying tribute and acknowledging our elders is particularly important. Today we bear witness to the awesome courage, resilience, fortitude, love of our elders. Our elders have been warriors on the front line, so we salute them for everything they have done. The mother country called and they answered. They called and they came. Today we stand here dignified and proud as we pay tribute to the indomitable spirit and legacy of our elders. Today is a time to honor, to reflect, to remember those who have made the ultimate sacrifice. In the mother country's darkest hours, they responded to the call from across the empire, the Commonwealth. They traveled to fulfill what they believe to be duty to Queen and country. We must remember the circumstances by which they came. the obstacles they faced, the degrading, inhumane treatment during and after conflict, the injustice, is a testament to their character, their humanity, and that they responded with such dignity. We will always remember that.
Then on the trainings, yeah. Again and have a look.
You are mute. You're mute.
We can't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
We have you back, yeah.
Okay. Elders, today and every day, we pay tribute and honor your struggles, and we give thanks for your continued wisdom, leadership, spiritual, ethical, and moral guidance. Building on our elders' legacy, learning from their experiences, and carrying forward their spirit of Black resistance are the best way we can remember them. So let us take a deep breath. Let's center ourselves. And today we stand dignified and proud as we remember them. We must remember the circumstances in which they came. Today, I will not be pouring libation, because this is not the appropriate place to do that. I will venerate the ancestors by calling out their names to remind us of their sacrifice. We honor the ancestors by inviting their character, their energy, and their spirit into our space. We want their personality, their character, their courage, resilience, and love to manifest through us. So let us take a few deep breaths to center ourselves so we can breathe in love and compassion and breathe out negativity and pessimism. We breathe in forgiveness, especially the capacity to forgive ourselves. We breathe out our feelings of fear and anxieties. We breathe in joy and African success, which is to have positive relationship. And finally, we breathe out the blindfold that stops us from seeing how gorgeous, fabulous, and talented we are. I now invite you to go in the privacy of your own minds and remember the humanity, the glory, and the suffering of our ancestors. Remember their names. Remember why they fought the good fight for freedom, liberty, and justice. We remember our ancestors from the north to the south, from the east to the west, from the bottom of oceans and seas, and the plantations. Wherever they are, we salute and we give thanks to them. We honor the spirit of our ancestors whose blood runs through our veins. We salute the spirit of our ancestors who died in foreign lands. We pay tribute to our ancestors who died in the Middle Passage. We salute our ancestors whose names are unknown or have been forgotten. We salute and pay tribute to great ancestors here in Wales, Mama Betty Campbell, for her commitment to young people, education, and community. Mama Patty Flynn, Mama Angela Barnes, Donna Campbell, Babylon Lawrence, Jessie Donaldson, born in Swansea, for her activism, anti-slave campaigner. Carter G. Woodson, whose vision inspired Black History Month. We remember Frederick Douglass, James Baldwin, Steve Biko, Paul Robeson. Let us be inspired by the audacity of Malcolm X, who declared Muhammad Ali, who declared himself the greatest, and had the confidence to become the greatest. We salute the courage and defiance of Rosa Parks, who chose to sit so we could stand with pride. We remember the magical voice of Prophet Robert Nesta Marley, One Love, Redemption Song, Africa Unite, and many other songs of freedom and liberty. We remember the love and compassion of Mary Seacole, Malcolm X, his commitment to self-determination, and his refusal not to be confined by the prison walls. We pay tribute to Martin Luther King and his unquenching quest for social justice. The vision, beliefs, philosophy of
of the elders. This lady is the founder, the art stone and the art beads and the glue what holds them together. Mama Roma Taylor, could you please make your welcoming speech, please?
All glory to the King of Kings. Welcome, everyone. Thank you all to celebrate with us. These are the names. Race Council Cymru, we thank them very much because they are our backbone. We're under their umbrella. And when I called, they said, yes, they will help me. At the African Community Centre, Black History Wales, RCS Wales Cymru, the Welsh Government, the Royal Navy, the Army, CCC, Unison, Public Service Union, Menai, the South Wales Jamaican Society, the Windrush Cymru Elders, Major Pete Harrison, Captain Hugh Williams, Kerry Harris, and Joe. These are some of the, if I've forgotten anyone, I'm sorry, please forgive me, but these are the people who have, oh, Chris Campbell, sorry. Chris found someone who made the flag, the Windrush Cymru flag. I think his name is Horace, and we thank him very much for that flag. Thank you, Chris, for doing that for us. And we thank Menai because Menai has blessed the elders last year. She's blessed us this year. And we just give God thanks for all of you that have come to work, to be with us today. We thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Auntie Roma. Thank you very much for such a steady, stern speech. Elders, Windrush family, we're privileged to have our social justice minister, Truly a defender of the poor and needy, she strove for Black history to be put into the national curriculum. She also strove for a zero tolerance to racism in Wales. Our former equalities minister, now our social justice minister, equality and justice stand for all. Jane Ott, welcome.
Thank you very much indeed, and thank you for that welcome. Diolch yn fawr am eich croeso today, heddiw. And I'm so grateful that I've been invited to the Windrush Cymru Elders and Race Council Cymru event, marking the fourth National Windrush Day, a day that recognises and celebrates the contributions of men and women from across the Commonwealth who helped to build a modern Wales and make this country their home. And I'm so delighted that the Welsh Government has been able to fund a number of organisations to mark this event across Wales, to retell those stories, to celebrate those contributions. And we've just heard from Roma as well, to celebrate those contributions to our nation. And this support, of course, includes this excellent event organised with that sense of community and solidarity, the spirit that we've seen so many times across Wales. And we want you, the Windrush generation, to know that we all value your contributions to our country over the last 73 years and the sacrifices that you have sometimes had to make. And of course, Wales has a much longer tradition of welcoming migrants into our communities. We're proud of the diversities of our communities and value the contributions of all. We want Wales to be a nation of sanctuary. Our vision for Wales is a country that is anti-racist, where everyone is treated as an equal citizen. And our Race Equality Action Plan is grounded in a recognition of the need for fundamental change and reflects our commitment to listen to Black, Asian and minority ethnic people, but then take action to make change in Wales that are tangible to their communities, not just to listen, to act. Because we all stand to benefit from racial equality, calling out and taking action on racial injustice. Successful implementation of our plan will see a fairer employment market, a fairer education and training system, an equalising of racial opportunities and outcomes in health and other social services, and will promote active citizenship. And we know that this is just the start of what will be a long journey, and that will be what we need to do in our communities to help create that anti-racist Wales we all want to live in, thrive in, and our children grow up in. If we get this right, we will create a society where everyone is valued for who they are and the contribution they make. But today, we pay tribute to the contributions made to Wales by the Windrush generation and their descendants, and all other migrant communities who came before and after. Thank you so much to you all. Diolch yn fawr.
Diolch yn fawr, Social Justice Minister, and you've done so much for Black history and for the Windrush Elders. We actually applaud and salute you as well. Thank you very much for all your time. Thank you. Windrush Elders, Windrush family. It's a historical time we have reached. The elders have been instrumental in helping raising the Windrush flag in Wales on a historical, momentous occasion. Before I actually tell you any more and go into details about the raising of the Windrush flag, Aunt Roma made a point of mentioning Mr. Barnes. The Wari project commissioned this flag for every council to actually fly on Windrush Day. So all councils in Wales, please, can you purchase a Windrush flag, and next year, can you actually fly it in your council buildings and I sell it? So without no further ado, I'm going to pass you over to the new engagement lead for the armed forces. Is it his feet running? Run. More than running, he's like a rocket. Yeah. Major Pete Harrison, thank you. Could you come in, sir, please?
Thank you, Chris. Thanks for that kind introduction. On behalf of the Brigade Commander, Brigadier Andrew Dawes, it's a privilege and an honour for me to speak today on Windrush Day. Having met Auntie Roma, if I'm allowed to call her that, we found out the story that she's actually a veteran of one of our units here in South Wales, and we always like to look after our veterans as best we can. And we managed to reconnect Roma with 203 Field Hospital and in particular Captain Hugh Williams, who's been absolutely instrumental in making that happen and actually getting Roma's veteran status in place. So it was an absolute pleasure to go to Llandaff North last week and to be part of the flag raising event that we conducted there. I've also thoroughly enjoyed participating in Horace Barnes's Wari project on Black history. I've certainly learned a lot, and I've gone away and encouraged my colleagues to develop more, in particular about how West Indians have supported the United Kingdom for over 500 years, and how we can also develop a relationship and know more about how African nations have helped the United Kingdom as well. And so one of the projects that we're working on now is the King's African Rifles, and how we can tell that story and tell it well. It would be rather remiss of me not to mention the excellent work of my predecessor, Lieutenant Colonel Jonah McGill. Chris very kindly says I've hit the road running like a rocket. This wouldn't have been possible without his determination and excellent work of making these relationships, which hopefully I can hopefully fill his feet. So without further ado, I think it's probably time, Chris, if you could show the video, if that's okay. Diolch yn fawr.
Diolch yn fawr. Thank you very much.
Good morning, everyone. It is a great honour and a privilege for me personally and for 203 Welsh Field Hospital to host this flag raising ceremony to commemorate Windrush Day, and also to recognise the contributions and sacrifices made for the United Kingdom's armed forces by citizens of the Commonwealth over many, many decades, including 2 world wars and many other conflicts. We should also recognise the contribution to British society in military, economic and cultural terms of all those who are descended from the Windrush pioneers, and recognise the positive contributions those original few and the many, many descendants have made to British way of life. We are proud and grateful for their contribution and very pleased to have the opportunity to support, celebrate and remember the Windrush generations. Welcome to you all, and especially our colleagues in the Royal Navy, the Royal Air Force and other Army Reserve units. I'm particularly pleased to welcome back to 203 our special guest, Mrs. Roma Taylor, who served as a nurse with 203 Welsh Field Hospital in what was then the Territorial Army between 1959 and 1984. Roma is a founder member of the Windrush Elders Cymru group, with whom we look forward to having a long and prosperous relationship in the future.
Right, standards! Eight.
Thank you, Major Peter Harrison and Colonel Lawrence of the 203. Major Harrison is of the Royal Regiment, the Royal Welsh Regiment, is very proud there. I want to echo what you said, sir. We really want to show our appreciation for Colonel Jonah McGill, who actually, he did pave the way for you to come in running. Colonel McGill is actually quite busy working with a lot of projects what we're working on together, and on Iron Bevan, People's NHS Day, Black History all over. So he's very engagement, and he's been engaging for years, and we want to salute him. And thank you very much, Major McGill and Colonel McGill and Major Harrison. Thank you very much, sir. And all the tri services as well. Thank you very much. Now we've come to that time of day where we're going to be giving tributes to to those we have lost over the last couple of years through all different forms of effects. COVID-19, the plague of COVID-19. So this is a young lady who has supported and contributed to the elders for many, many years. Her mother who passed away, Mama Barnes, a couple of years ago. This young lady has been on a journey for the last couple of years. It's a journey where she's been walking with God. I'm going to now actually ask them to play Annika Nation Read, and with her song. Please, can you play a song, please? takeover. Yes, the African Community Centre will be taking over with presenter Jasmine Wallace, the great, amazing Jasmine Wallace. Would you like to come and present ACC Takeover, please?
Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. My name is Jasmine Wallace Thompson, and I live in Port Talbot, South Wales, and I am third generation Windrush. The fact that we are here today celebrating the legacy generation of pioneers who left the Caribbean many years ago just illustrates the significance of their contributions to British society. Closer to home, I have personally felt the impact of my grandparents' decision to leave their homes in Jamaica and start again in Port Talbot. They and their fellow pioneers faced challenges, barriers, and prejudice, but undeterred, they immersed themselves in their new Welsh surroundings and focused on supporting the recovery of the country when it was needed the most. They worked in the steelworks, the NHS, and took on long hours in the factories to rebuild the economy. When I think of my grandparents, I have feelings of pride. Whilst working at the steelworks and at Matoy's factory in Neath, my grandparents dreamt of a better life for their children and instilled the value of education and always striving to achieve your goals. They raised 2 university graduates and a serving police officer. This second generation has gone on to raise another police officer, and I am on my way to study psychology and education at Bristol University. I hope to continue the legacy of the Windrush generation. Here at the ACC, we are proud to celebrate Windrush Day and those it represents. As part of the work myself and the other young people at the ACC have completed, we have had the opportunity to go on a journey to uncover the stories of the Windrush's third generation, as well as the history of the elders that came before. All members of the ACC have found this project to be so rewarding and enriching, as we have heard firsthand the experiences and struggles faced by those associated with Windrush. For many of us here at the ACC, these stories resonated with us as we shared a similar history in Windrush. Through the ACC, we young people have also had the opportunity to attend an enlightening workshop with historian Abu Bakr, where many of us have learned far more about our history than what we had learned in school. Lastly, I would like to mention the other amazing young people who I have completed the Windrush project with, who will be sharing a short poem, "We Salute You, Our Windrush Elders." So I would like to firstly introduce Mayenza, who unfortunately is having technical issues with her camera. However, we still will be able to hear her.
Hello, I'm Mayenza, and this is my poem. We salute you, our Windrush elders. In 1948, you came to Britain to help rebuild the infrastructure, thereby creating a better tomorrow for the generations that followed. You went so far as to penetrate the health sector, becoming nurses, and some even carers, making a difference where it mattered the most. You were taken away from your native homes, your source of comfort, and everything you were familiar with, and taken to a foreign land you had no connection to, and still managed to stay true to yourselves. Fighting against racism, discrimination, and the pressure to conform to a foreign culture, language, and way of life. You conquered. You remained authentic. You preserved your heritage, culture, language, and beliefs, and carried them with pride, and passed them on to the generations that followed. We are grateful for your strength, your courage, and the difference you have made. giving us the confidence to walk with pride, knowing where we come from and the endless possibilities we have because of you. Thank you.
Thank you, Menza. That was beautiful. I'd like to next introduce Dami.
Hello everyone, my name is Dami. We salute you all, our great Windrush elders, our heroes who have fought the good fight. We celebrate and honor you all. We raise our hats for you all. Through thick and thin, you have weathered the storm, tidings of life notwithstanding. We salute you all. Thank you.
Thank you, Dami. And next, I'd like to introduce Laken.
Hello, everyone. We salute you, our Windrush elders. Thank you for leaving footprint for us to step into. Your words of wisdom speak volumes. Your resilience through the years has inspired us all to forge ahead where we face challenges. We also celebrate those who have passed on to glory. The legacy you left will never be forgotten or erased. We salute you, our Windrush elders.
Thank you, Laken. I'd like to now introduce Andre.
We salute you, to all those to come in the future, to all those now with us in the present, and most of all, to those who've given us pride in the past. We give our gratitude for all you've accomplished, and we celebrate the nation that you helped re-establish. You've shown us what true inspiration looks like, and to us, you are our precious light. We salute you, our Windrush elders.
Thank you so much, Andre. And lastly, I'd like to introduce historian Abu Bakr.
Right. Can you hear me? Thank you. I'd just like to say thanks to everybody for turning up. And I just want to say that one of the reasons why I became a historian was because I can see that the people who were dying, that history was dying with them. And I decided to collect as much information as possible. I remember going to bedside, in hotels, in hospitals, to retrieve those little stories in order to keep that spirit alive. I ended up giving up a profession, a career, in order to put my life, my emotions, my psychology into this work of preserving this, to try to create the next generation of historians and sociologists who will keep this alive. This is because those people who came over here after 1948, they had a dream and they had a vision. Most of that dream and vision was not really taken up by the next generation, especially in Wales. And I thought to myself, for me to try to keep this alive, because I thought it was a very important part of history to keep alive, not just the Windrush generation, but the sacrifice that many of you made to come here. Many of you came here, you were lied to. And then when you came here, you faced a hostile society. There were certain places, social spaces you couldn't go until they passed the Race Relation Act of 1965. You couldn't go to public parks, restaurants, hotels, motels. You couldn't go to swimming pools or cinemas. Okay, this was your reality. Why is it that we're talking about racial segregation in America and not realize what the Windrush generation had encountered when they come to this country? And many of the white unions would strike because they didn't want to work alongside you. The reason why you came over here in the first place is because you looked after the British for over 300 years. You had those skills. You brought those skills here to rebuild the infrastructure of this country. And as a result of building the infrastructure of this country, you were financially exploited, sometimes to the detriment where your white counterparts were being paid more than yourselves for doing less work. This is why I decided to become a historian, to keep your story alive. And then what happened later on? You couldn't afford houses. Banks wouldn't give you any loans. So you brought into existence the Susu and the partner system to collectivize your money together in order to purchase homes in well-deserved areas that you felt that you deserved, because you wanted to give people like me, who was either the second or third generation, a good head start. This was the reality of Britain and Wales from the 1940s, 50s, and 1960s. And then the government decided to pass the Race Relation Acts of 1968 to 1969, allowing you to own homes in designated places which were just for white middle-class people. The government had to step in to do that. So this was your turmoil. These were the hostilities that you faced. Sometimes we faced it with you as children, but we didn't know. You didn't tell us. You wanted to give us the uniqueness, I suppose, of this society without telling us the truth of the hostilities that you yourself went through. This is the reason why I became a historian, and to keep this story alive. And then last but not least was the last major Race Relation Act of 1976, in order to stop racial segregation in the employment sector within England and Wales. And at the same time this was taking place, many of you Black women who worked and helped to rebuild the NHS, the National Health Service, were denied your honorary place in that industry. You were the ones that built and made that come alive because you were working full time. A nuclear family existed amongst the dominant culture in this society, which meant that the white women only worked part-time. You were full-time workers along with your men. As your children, we hardly saw you, but we lived in beautiful homes, and we commend you for that. I won't forget it, and I want to make sure that the next generation don't forget that as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for that. And thank everyone, and thank you all for listening. And I'd like to hand back over to our host.
Thank you very much, Jasmine Wallace-Thompson and Abu Bakr Madan Shabazz. Thank you very much. We was very happy to hear from the third generation. We hear Abu Bakr actually talk about the fifth generation and going further in other presentations, which we will be seeing in the future. So ACC, African Community Centre, thank you very much for your presentation. Thank you very much. And now, without further ado, we come to that time of the day when we call on my brother, who is going to be doing a presentation with the Wari Project, Horace Barnes, inspirational speaker. Honestly, his content of historical fact is only beaten by his emotional content, you know, and that goes for all of the Wari group. They are dedicated and committed to telling the story of Windrush, not only telling the story, but giving the evidence to museums, schools, libraries, now into Wales. I'm not going to say no more because I don't want to take no more away from Mr. Horace Barnes and the Wari Project. Thank you very much.
Cymru elders and distinguished guest, Race Council Cymru, thank you very much for giving us the honour to actually present to you today. It's a unification between England and Wales right now, and anywhere else that wants to actually join us in this adventure. Those that came on the Windrush came to the call of their king. Remember, they already answered the call in the Second World War. They had thought they did their job for king and country, but yet their country called them once more. I'm going to ask Andy to queue up the documentary. It's a short video, and it was done by Pathfinders. And this sort of evidence is what we do. We dig up the evidence and we bring it forward for people to see. Too many people believe that the West Indians did not take part in the Second World War. They did not take part in the First World War. For over 500 years, West Indians and their ancestors have answered Britain's call. Andy, are you ready, sir?
Arrivals at Heathrow. Film star Ingrid Bergman and director Alfred Hitchcock come in from Hollywood. Pathé's reporter and Hitch swap jobs. Our reporter directs and Hitchcock puts the questions.
This is your first time in England?
No, no. You'll be happy to know I spent my honeymoon in England.
Now Hitch poses a weighty question.
Tell me, I think that the diet in England is going to do you a lot of good. Doesn't
Yeah,
do me
but-
any good, I might tell you.
No.
But it's going to be good for you?
Apologies, Andy, there's no picture. There's no
Okay,
picture.
very much.
Thank you. Apologies, ladies and gentlemen. We'll try and get back to that as soon as we can. In the meantime, what I'm going to do, if it's okay with the Secretary of the Wild West Indian Project, Sharon, can you come forward, please, and say what you have to say and obviously deliver the Windrush poem. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everybody. Many times we've been asked the question, the relevance of Windrush, H and the Wild West Indian Project. So hopefully I'm going to answer that question to you now. So as a boy, H would listen endlessly to the stories told by his uncle, Lloyd Hilton, affectionately known as Pops, of his life back in Jamaica and how he answered England's call for help, becoming passenger 680 on board the SS Empire Windrush. However, like many of us, we don't realise the value of something until it's gone. And it wasn't until Pops's death in 2007 that H began to realise the significance and importance of those forgotten tales. I knew Pops very well, and there wasn't ever a time he didn't ask about my parents or send his best wishes to them, although he had never met them. H's eulogy was one of the most powerful things I have ever heard, a tribute, a history lesson, indeed an epiphany. For it's true to say life was never going to be the same again. Together, we created the Wild West Indian Project, an educational project to uncover those and share those many contributions made by people from the West Indies to Great Britain and indeed the free world. Birmingham libraries were the first to embrace us, offering opportunities to engage with audiences ranging from school groups to elders. Over the years, our loyal army of volunteers come from all walks of life, including veterans and current serving military personnel, NHS staff, civil servants, police, teachers, historians, and indeed anyone who shares our passion for education, equality and fairness. As with those early pioneers, it hasn't been an easy journey, but we can see the fruits of our labour as we now engage with many different community groups and partners. Throughout the year, social distancing permitting, we attend many services of remembrance across the UK, where our veterans stand shoulder to shoulder with comrades from the Royal British Legion. We have influenced many national museums to search their archives, and having created a Windrush flag, we have been involved in several flag raising ceremonies, such as the ones we've experienced today. We have signed the Armed Forces Covenant and are current holders of their Bronze Award. Our invites into schools and other learning centres continue to grow. And we use every available opportunity to showcase Caribbean contributions, as well as provide a platform for our members to share their experiences and be accessible role models for young people. Based on what I have learned throughout the Wild West Indian Project's existence, in 2011, I wrote my own tribute to those who came to England in 1948, bringing hope, help and friendship in the face of adversity. And I would like to share this with you now. This is simply SS Empire Windrush. The ravages of war left Britain in a desperate economic state. Housing problems and food rationing made worse by a slow recovery rate. 500,000 British casualties, many men injured or worse still killed, left the country short on labour, job vacancies not being filled. Relief appeared in the form of the Marshall Plan. A loan from the USA sounded a good idea, but when their initial response was no, it filled our government with fear. This was an important time for Britain, not least because of the industrial race, with new ideas and inventions coming to the fore. but which country was going to claim first place. The National Health Service was also introduced. The welfare state had begun. Nationalisation of hospitals meant free medical care for all British citizens, not just for some. So Enoch Powell went to the colonial Caribbean and an advert appeared in the Daily Gleaner, recruiting for all kinds of occupations for anyone willing to step into Britain's working arena. Hundreds of West Indians answered that call, joining Caribbean servicemen who had remained, to help the mother country back to her feet. But to the British people, this was never properly explained. So it was that the Empire Windrush docked at Tilbury on the 21st of June 1948, but sadly just another untold story, as few people realise the significance of the date. Despite sharing a common citizenship, they were not viewed as welcome guests. Despite bringing money to boost the economy, they were treated as alien pests. The 22nd of June and the Empire Windrush, an important landmark in modern British history, an essential part of Britain's transformation, so why it's not taught in schools, to me, a mystery. For if someone is in need of help, they'd call a friend without delay, and England had hundreds of friends who came on what is now recognised as National Windrush Day. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, the project has been going for 12 years. One of the things that we realized that they were celebrating Windrush Day every 5 years. The Wire West Indian Project stepped in. One of the first groups to actually help us was Birmingham Libraries, where they took us into schools and we did presentations, talking about these great pioneers who had served in the Second World War and had did their duty to king and country. And yet, not all of them went back. Half of them, or more than half, we believe, stayed here and re-enlisted back into the armed forces. 250 of them were awarded shore leave in about 1947. They returned to the West Indies, where they linked back up with their family and friends. Britain was financially bankrupt. The government had to pay all those factories, which they have to today, who were helping with the PI distribution and oxygen stuff like that. The government had to pay them money for supplying that. In the war, they had taken over these factories and they had to pay off the war bonds. Britain asked for the Marshall Plan, which is a financial help from the Americans who put small print in, and Britain seen what they were doing and said no. The Americans wanted everything that Britain had. The next time the journey goes on, how are we going to get ourselves out of this trouble? This is where the West Indians came in. They already had the clue, those West Indians that stayed on to protect the country and rebuild it. Followed by two ships, the Ormondo and the Amazura, that came in 1947, bringing more professional people to help rebuild Britain. These stories are not being told. Britain heard of a ship called the SS Empire Windrush going into the West Indian area. They diverted it to pick up the military personnel. In doing so, Britain then invited more professional bodies to come over and help rebuild the country. This is the Windrush historical story. Over 650 of them from all corners of the West Indies jumped on that ship and came to Britain to help rebuild her. The saddest part of this is that the story has never been properly told, and people still think that we, the West Indian community, had nothing to do with the First World War, Second World War, Napoleonic Wars, the American Wars of Independence. It goes on and on and on. We've always been there at Britain's side, a secret weapon that's never been revealed. You now know what the real story is. I don't know if Andy can get up the documentary. Andy, any luck? If not, can we go straight to the pictures, please? Thank you.
Arrivals at Heathrow. Film star Ingrid Bergman and director Alfred Hitchcock come in from Hollywood. Pathé's reporter and Hitch swap jobs. Our reporter directs and Hitchcock...
Andy, just for time reasons, I think we'll leave that. Can we get the pictures up? Is there 2 pictures, I believe? Can we get those up, please, sir?
Sorry, I haven't been given any pictures.
Oh, sorry, Andy. Okay. All right. Well, not to worry. We'll just have to have a little chit chat between us. But anyway, here it goes. So now all of a sudden, Britain has 250 military personnel that they're trying to return back to Britain. They've redirected the ship called the SS Empire Windrush, which was captured in the Second World War. It was a German cruise ship, and it was turned into a military transportation. It was renamed His Majesty's troop ship. Out of all the 650 that turned up here on the 21st of June, there was an argument going on in Parliament whether to let the ship dock. Sadly, the argument went on. On the 22nd of June, those great pioneers were allowed to disembark. They went off into different areas. Those that knew where they were going because they had served in the Second World War returned to those areas. And one of those areas would have been Wales. They would have served in Penarth, I think it's called, the RAF base there. They would have served in Newport, the Royal Merchant Navy, Central, and Cardiff. Over 15,000 West Indians would have served in the Merchant Navy in the Second World War. The numbers is over 9,000 would have served in the RAF. They don't know the numbers in the army because there was just thousands of thousands that served. In the Royal Navy back in West Indies, over 3,500 of them were recruited to serve in the Royal Navy Trinidadian Royal Navy Reserves. These men and these women who served in the West Indies on all the countries to make sure that the German U-boats were not successful. When Britain called and they answered the call, the 650 out of over 10,000 people that lined up to do the job were handpicked. It sounds like by the military. You had to have a trade. You had to have a skill. And also you had to have served in the Second World War. That's why the numbers were so low. The price was paid for a first-class passage is about £48. The price that's paid for a second-class passage with most of the men had actually came on was £28 and 10 shillings. How do I know this? I've seen the documentation of my uncles. I'm going to bring Bill Herning. He's going to tell you a little story about Mona Batiste and some of the pictures, even though we haven't got them today, I apologize, of the military personnel that came back. Bill, are you there?
Yes, I am, Horace, and I think I can show people the photograph that you wanted to show. Is that, I don't know if people can see that or not.
Andy, are you trying to share the screen? You need to come up a bit, Bill,
No,
please.
no, it's not sharing the screen.
No,
it's
come up
just
a bit, come up a bit. Your background is actually interfering with it.
Yeah, well, people would remember the photograph. It's of a very attractive young lady playing a saxophone surrounded by a number of RAF members. And the lady is Mona Baptiste, or if you're from Trinidad, Baptiste, because the P is silent. Mona's family can't understand why we call her Baptiste, but there you go. It was taken at Tilbury 73 years ago today. And it was the day after Mona's 22nd birthday. She had a 22nd birthday on board the Windrush. She wouldn't have done, that wasn't the intention. The Windrush was 3 days late. It had to stop off in Havana, Cuba for 3 days for emergency repairs. So she had her 22nd birthday on the Windrush. Why was she coming to England? You know, she had a lovely life in Trinidad. She had a great mother, 3 lovely sisters, lived in a nice house. But she was restless. Women in particular, weren't treated terribly well in Trinidad. They were treated as second-class citizens to an extent. Ladies in Trinidad didn't dance, they didn't go on stage, they weren't allowed in the tents, they didn't take part in carnival at that stage. So she wanted a bit more than that. Why choose England? Why not America? She had more relatives in the States than she had in England. She had nobody in England, no relatives, no friends. The States wasn't bomb damaged through the war. She knew the Americans because of the US bases on Trinidad. She used to sing on the radio programs. It was a lot nearer, but she chose England because she was British, and it didn't cross her mind to think she was anything else. And when Horace talks about the input the West Indians gave into various conflicts, Mona might have remembered that her Uncle Inkerman, and you don't get many more patriotic names than Inkerman, Uncle Inkerman died in World War I. He was the 3rd member of the British West Indians Regiment to die in World War I, and he's buried in a war grave in Seaford in Sussex. Her other uncle, Uncle Frank, he lost both legs. He fought in both World Wars and ended up losing his legs. So she, she certainly knew that Britain was important, and her family respected the country, the mother country. So she ended up in England. On the passenger list, she declared herself as a clerk and said she was off to Pennywern Road, which is near Earl's Court. I think she put clerk because it's quite difficult to arrive in England and say, oh, I'm a singer, will you employ me? But within 6 weeks, she was on national radio with Lord Beginner. So she very, very quickly built up a reputation as a singer. She was part of the Stefan Grappelli quintet. A lot of people remember Stefan Grappelli. She went across to France with a superstar called Yves Montand, and she became a big star in Germany. Her greatest fame was in Germany. But some of the names that she performed with well, I know Horace will remember, I don't know whether other people will, but got Benny Hill, Bob Monkhouse, Ted Ray, Max Bygraves, Tony Hancock, Ken Dodd, and probably more famous, Bing Crosby, Engelbert Humperdinck, Al Martino. She certainly was a superstar. She never went to Pennywern Road, as it happens. Her first home in England was in the Colonial Ladies Hostel in Collingham Gardens. And one of her neighbours there, I mean, it was a hostel, was the only female stowaway on the Windrush, a lady called Evelyn Wauchope, who sneaked on in Jamaica, got apprehended while she was on board, and the passengers had a collection for her, and paid her £48 fare. So Evelyn eventually left for New York. She went to New York and had a very, very good and successful life there. Mona married. She married very badly. Her first marriage was to a jewel thief who just served 7 years in jail. Had 20 lashes, believe it or not. This is in England in 1937. That marriage broke up. He was killed in a car crash. So let's have a happy ending. She met an Irishman. They spent 5 years in New York, then moved across to Dublin. She died in 1993. Brilliant second marriage she had. Her second husband still alive and well, swims in the Irish Sea every day. So Mona had a fantastic life, but she never thought of herself as anything other than British. And that's why she boarded the Windrush and made her life across here.
Thank you, Bill. Bill's one of the historians. Historical Roots is another group that he works for on digging up and unveiling all this information, and there's a lot more to come. May I ask Chris how much time we've got left, please, if that's possible?
Approximately 2 minutes, my friend.
Oh, sorry. Well, that's the end of the Wild West Indian Project presentation. But before we go, Sharon Jackson, are you there? Who will just give us a verse of a song that we all know now, and we use that as an anthem. Sharon, are you there, please? Sharon Jackson.
Yes, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yeah, you've got 2 minutes. So can you just do one verse of You Raise Me Up for us, please? Thank you very much.
Can we make it 2 verses, please? We'll stretch for another minute.
Okay, there you go. 2 verses.
And oh, my soul, so weary when trouble comes and my heart burdened be, then I am still here waiting in the silence until you come and sit a while with me. You raise me up so I can climb on mountains. You raise me up to walk on stormy sea. I am strong whenever I am on your shoulders. You raise me up more than I can be. You raise me up so I can stand on mountains. You raise me up to walk on stormy seas. I am strong whenever I am on your shoulder. You raise me up more than I can be. You raise me up more than I can be.
Thank you, Sharon. Thank you very much for that inspiring song. Thank you very much. Our response, Wari Project, very inspirational. Again, Mr. Barnes said, if you want to get more information, they're actually doing a session tomorrow in Newport in South Wales Jamaican Society. The link's up and around. Thank you very much, Iris and Wari. We have come to a time now we can let our hair down, start to relax and breathe. Yeah, it's entertainment time now. So, gives me great, great, great pleasure to introduce a leader of youths in Swansea and all over Wales. This young lady, a commitment to the young. She raises champions. She actually is a exemplar mentor. The great composer, songwriter, Ifeoma Owobi, along with the master drummer from Ghana, yes, Lafamadi. Please, can you come and do your composition what you've done for the Windrush Elders? Thank you very much.
Yes, sir. Anche. That was Iffy on piano, keyboard. Anche. Thank you, elders. Windrush elders, we love you.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to make a little correction. The family comes from the Guinea, so I'll get that. And he is a master drummer, master singer, and if you will be, what a composer. So to this part of the day where we're going to let the entertainment run on, and we're going to go down to, let me see, is it Commander Susan Lynch with the Fitzallen School Band? Can you come in, please, Commander Lynch?
Good afternoon, Chris. Thank you so much for inviting me. And what a fantastic event. Thank you so much. And I made a huge salute to the guests of honour, our Windrush elders. Delighted to see so many of you online today. And I look forward to when I can meet you all in person. The Royal Navy is delighted to be involved in today's event and to be shown a musical tribute from Fitzallen High School in Cardiff. My ADAC team are actually based in Fitzallen School, and the school is really diverse and inclusive, and they're delighted today to be honouring the Windrush elders. Hopefully the clip will celebrate the diversity of the school, and the school think that it's really important to celebrate Windrush. They see it as being part of Welsh history, and they recognise that the Windrush generation have and continue to shape the Wales that we live in today. So they're very keen for the story to be kept alive, and they are keen to have the elders in Fitzallen when the situation permits. So we look forward to meeting you in person, and I'd like to wish you all a very happy Windrush Day.
Hello everybody, it's Brigadier Jock Fraser, Regional Commander for the Navy. Really nice to be able to say a few words as you get ready to watch the performance from Fitzallen School. And before that, just for me to wish you a very happy Windrush Day, and I look forward very much indeed to seeing all of you again as soon as conditions allow. Have a great day, thank you, bye-bye.
pioneers for today's diverse and inclusive Wales, and their descendants continue to contribute and shape today's modern Wales. Diolch yn fawr.
Thank you very much, Commander Lynch. And also our own Officer Garrison, Eddie. Well done. Thank you very much to the Fitzallen School Band. They was absolutely amazing, magnificent, very diverse, excellent. We'd like to hear them again. Thank you, Mom.
It's an honour. Thank you very much for hosting the Windrush Elders. Have a fantastic day.
Thank you. Windrush Elders, Windrush Cymru Elders, Windrush family, honoured guests, it's time to introduce the First Minister, the Right Honourable Mark Drakeford, First Minister of Wales.
Today marks the 4th National Windrush Day, a day that honours and celebrates the contributions of Commonwealth citizens who helped to build a modern Wales and made this country their home. It also recognises the disgraceful way in which some of those citizens were treated in more recent times. I'm so take place this year. As a Welsh Government, we want Wales to become an anti-racist nation by 2030, and in March we launched the draft Race Equality Action Plan for Wales, an anti-racist Wales, out there for consultation. I'm proud that we're the first nation in the UK to call for an anti-racist country. It's time we shift the burden of tackling racism from the recipients and the victims of such acts to everyone in society. That is how we will truly achieve a Wales which is more equal, fairer and available for all our citizens.
Well, First Minister, thank you very much for taking time to film that contribution for the Windrush Elders. Well, ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, we have come to that time where we pay a little reflection onto those who have passed on in the last couple of years. We reflect the many, many, many lives that we all actually have taken part, and maybe they've been a part of our lives and they've gone on now. So we pay tribute and we honour them, and we do this in our last performance by the night by the great Dabs and his reflection and his tribute to the Windrush Elders and those who have lost through COVID-19. Dabs, thank you.
Hello, Windrush Elders. I'd just wanted to thank you for all the hard work you guys do in the community and to play a couple of songs for you. I'd like to dedicate this first one to Mama Barnes, Patty Flynn, Mr. Radway and Mr. Isaacs. I know it was one that they quite enjoyed previously, and yeah, obviously we're all very sad to have lost them. Are gay and the sun shines steady on the mountain top. I took a trip sailing ship, but when I reached Jamaica, I made a stop. But I'm sad to say I'm on my way. Won't be back for many a day. My heart is down, my head is turning around. I had to leave a little girl in Kingston Town. Sounds of laughter everywhere, and the dancing girls swaying to and fro. I must commit, my heart is there, though I have been from Maine to Mexico. Well, I'm sad to say I'm on my way. Won't be back for many a day. My heart is down, my head is turning around. I had to leave a little girl in Kingston Town. Down the market you can hear ladies crying out what on their heads they wear. Ackee rice, saltfish are nice, and the rum tastes nice any time of year. Well, I'm sad to say I'm on my way. Won't be back for many a day. My heart is down, my head is turning around. I had to leave a little girl in Kingston Town. Sad to say I'm on my way. Won't be back for many a day. My heart is down, my head is turning around. I had to leave a little girl in Kingston Town. Sad to say I'm on my way. Won't be back. Singing with me, pulling up the big monkey man. Singing with me, pulling up the big monkey man. Pulling up the big monkey man. Singing with me, pulling up the big monkey man. Thank you guys. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you very much, Dad. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Lovely song, lovely song. Now,
My pleasure. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. And now I'm going to ask my Stabs, respect you, come through.
Hey, man. How's it going, guys? Thank you for having me along today. Oh, hang on. I'm dealing with a 4-year-old. Hi, say hi, Zadie. Hi. But yeah, just thank you all, guys. You obviously, the amount of work you guys do in the community is amazing. Okay, so just thank you all. That's all. Sorry, busy with childcare at the minute.
Well, that's the next Windrush generation. So do your work.
Literally, if it wasn't My pleasure. Literally, guys, if it wasn't for you guys, this little one wouldn't exist. So what can I say? Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Bless you all.
Thank you.
Bless you.
Thank you,
Now,
Chris. Oh, sorry. Thank
thank
you
you,
so much,
everyone.
Chris. Just a very quick button. I don't think any Windrush Day would be complete without us hearing the voice of our grandmama from the Windrush generation, the one, the only Mrs. Vanessa Cyril OBE. And I have to announce her because that's who she is. She's the mother of all our patrons, and she's the grandmother who was friends with Mrs. Betty Campbell, with Patty Flynn, and all the patrons, Mr. Len Lawrence patron, Mrs. Elaine Campbell, Betty's daughter, we have also Leanne's mom, yeah, Mrs. Geraldine, and we have the newest diversity champion for the Black History Movement, Rachel Clark, who is Mrs. Campbell's granddaughter. So they all come together with Nikki Delgado, our grandfather of Black history, to celebrate Windrush. I don't think we can close without the voice, the wonderful wisdom of our dear mama and outstanding human being who immortalizes the contributions of the Windrush generation of Wales. I think we wonderfully welcome her with a big cheer to talk about celebrate her contributions and those of so many to the Windrush. And I'm sure that you'll join me in thanking Brother Chris Campbell from Chris Campbell Consultancy for chairing and coordinating. I'm sure you will also join me in thanking Adele Dunstan, the administrator, executive administrator of the Windrush Cymru Elders. I'm sure you'll join me in thanking our director, the lovely Kay Denia, and also to thank all the staff who have all plowed into this one. Joanne, Patience, and Fallon, Ify, and all of you, every single one of you who participated and performed and showcased your talent. A big thank you to Andy, who's on IT, and every single speaker, all the ministers, all the forces, everybody who is everybody. I want particularly to thank the children of the Windrush who came through powerfully through the African Community Center. They are the future elders that we will one day be hearing in the great beyond as they're celebrated. It's so wonderful to see so many people from all over the world. Auntie Roma, you started it and you continue to lead it, and Windrush would not be here without you. And a big thank you to you and your beautiful daughter, Diana, and all the Windrush Cymru elders. You know who you are. I see our brothers, Jim and his brother. We call them the twins. There we go. We see Mr. Clem and all the Windrush elders, Auntie Aini, and all the people who have been us today. Thank you for all. Now, is Mrs. Vanessa ready to talk to us and lead us out of this session? Where is Mama Vanessa Cyril, OBE? Can we see her? There she is. Mama, over to you to speak us out, and then let's have some beautiful music, maybe one of the ones that we've had already, anyone you like. Okay, thank you, Mama Vanessa. God bless you, Wales, and happy National Windrush Day, everybody. You're on mute, Mama.
Yeah. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Well, I watched everything happen today, and I think it was a wonderful, wonderful event. And I think everyone gave their contribution to what we call the Windrush generation. However, what else can I say? I do thank everyone. And when we think of the Windrush, as the saying, you've got to look back to move forward. And from the lecturer, Mr. Abu Bakr, I think that was a lot, fine words from him, which I think the future generation need to learn. We, as the people who have all the secret, luckily for me, I came here as a teenager, so I could say, growing up in the Caribbean and then coming here, we weren't poor, but we weren't rich, and we never stayed hungry. And we came here with skills. And as everybody knew, that our skills weren't accepted because we didn't have the right color for our skills to be accepted. We have made strides, and we are still making with our young people, as it was nice to hear them. We need to get them more involved, these young people, because it's nice to hear them looking back on the other generation, what the generation have broken the way for them to make them what they are now. We found them doing 3 jobs. We found them being battered and bruised in the workplace, insulted. They wouldn't be there. They took it all because they wanted the children to have a better life. So can I raise the flag? I haven't got the flag, the Windrush flag, but can I say we can look at it visually and raise that flag to every one of these people. You don't have to be coming in the Windrush time, but to every one of these people who've got connection with the Windrush, and to every speaker, I think it was fantastic. And Chris, can I commend you? You're taking over now. I don't know what Wuz will do, but you're taking over. So thank you very, very much. I mean, I don't know what words to say. I wasn't prepared. I was just watching in the audience, but there you are. I've got to be pulled into it. So thanks a million. It was wonderful. And to see Roma there with the army as well, they mustn't forget us. We've done so many good things, but we have forgotten half the times. So there we are, the mad wife of the Royal Gwent Hospital. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mama. Thank you, Mama Vanessa.
A big thank you to Mama Vanessa Cyril, OBE. And a big thank you, Auntie Roma Taylor. We cannot wait to bring you back in, everybody back into your beautiful home. A big thank you to Dr. Grace Carey, also Black History patron for Wales. I see all the patrons are here. I see our lovely Auntie Roma in style and in charge. So when the Royal Welsh College opens, the Windrush elders might welcome you to their home because they very much feel the college is their home. The principal, Helena Gaunt, sends her love and blessings to all the Windrush elders today. And a big cheer to Kay, Denia, and all her team, everybody. If I've forgotten you, don't kill me. But it was lovely to see our brother Chris steering the ship. And I'm quite happy anytime for Wawi and CCC to take charge. A big thank you to all of you. Enjoy your lunch, courtesy of our wonderful donors and all our sponsors, and a big thank you to our royal friends. And we hope, very much hope, that you will continue to carry the torch of the Windrush everywhere you go. And if we don't speak, if we don't tell, posterity will point fingers of accusation at us. So never forget to celebrate our elders. Thank you so much, Windrush elders. Thank you, CCC. Compare extraordinaire. Thank you.
Everybody on mute, please, and give a round of applause to each other.
Thank you, you can unmute, everybody. Give it a cheer for Wales. Yes.
Wonderful.
Oh, thank you.